Hey, welcome, friends. Hey, thanks for checking out another episode of this little podcast. Um, I have with us a gentleman that I've been attracted to. I was introduced by a mutual friend. Aaron said, "Hey, you got to check out this guy, Matthew. What he does is pretty cool. I think you guys are kind of cut from the same cloth." So, yeah, what I'm getting at is I've just recently met Matthew. I've read his Facebook stuff. We did a few text messages back and forth. And what he offers the world is really, really pretty cool. Um, but I don't really know him. Okay. So this is our first conversation. And both of us kind of said, hey, why don't we just record it? Um, you know, if there's anything worth sharing, go ahead and share it. If not, then go ahead and, just flush it. But yeah, what you're doing right now is listening in on a conversation for two people that are really kind of strangers. But there's apparently he likes what I offer enough that he accepted the invitation. Um, but yeah, I guess what I'm saying, I don't really have a big long introduction for Matthew. By the way, today we are talking with Matthew Stensland-Bos. He works with people in a way that is pretty amazing, but I probably won't do it justice as I try to, again, give you the big introduction. So, Matthew, could you be kind enough to tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know the term for what I do. I guess I don't have a great term like empowerment coach or wellness coach. There's nothing quite so succinct, but I guess I'm the one who helps people through major challenges. Um, Especially with mental and physical health, with the kind of stuff that everybody else fails at fixing, because I was in that position myself. I'll get into that more with you, but 15 years into chronic illness and I was worse than I'd ever been after 15 years of trying. And it's not to say everybody I work with is at that level of intensity, but needless to say, I guess I'm not afraid of the really difficult cases. And that's who I really am passionate about helping, because there's plenty of people out there to just help you think positive or change your diet a little bit or get in shape. And those are awesome things to do. But I go to that level where you've done everything and you just don't know how to move forward despite all your efforts.
Wow, wow. Okay, so that leads me to ask. So, what was this that you had been dealing with 15 years that was such a challenge?
Yeah, so I was dealing with some chronic health challenges that I don't know exactly when the start point was. I say about 15 years of it because there was a certain point where it started actually slowing down my life instead of just, okay, I had some things in the background, no big deal. But at a certain point, it started to slow down my life, maybe about 13. And it just got worse and worse over the years. Started out with, some chronic pain, some mood issues, depression, a little bit of fatigue. And it got worse and worse into severe depression, severe fight or flight constantly for years, severe insomnia, digestive issues, really bad chronic fatigue syndrome. I was bedbound for a few years. Mast cell activation syndrome. I was told I had some connective tissue disorders. I had a seizure one time. It's probably been 10 years now. It just about killed me. I was gone for, I think, 3 or 4 hours. I don't know the exact time, but I don't know how I came back from that. Um, Severely dissociated from everything. Couldn't really feel my body other than if I had pain signals. Um, like at this point, I sometimes I try to list these things and I can't even remember all of them because there was so much and it's not really part of my life anymore. But that's the gist of it. Yeah, I guess I was also told I have Lyme disease and Epstein-Barr and all that stuff too.
You were just basically fucked.
Yes, I was fucked, and it was at a level where I'd seen every doctor, every healer. Like I'd done ayahuasca ceremonies, I'd done like faith healers trying to cast the devil out of me. I'd done Mayo Clinic. Like you know, those kind of healers that people go to where they're like, yeah, I can heal anybody. I'm the last resort people go to. I'd seen like half a dozen of those last resort people, and I was always their first case they couldn't help. And that was like 10 years ago already. So
Well, I commend you for not giving up.
I wanted to. Just so we're clear, like I wanted to, and I'd have days where I gave up, but on the whole, I didn't because, you know, it's like, well, at a certain point, you either die or you keep going, and I was more interested in seeing what life looked like on the other side. So,
Wow, wow. So obviously you're not that way today. So what changed that downward trajectory?
well, so I was about 27, 28 when I would say I hit the lowest of the low points. I'd been bedbound for a few years, living with my parents. I didn't even like if I walked up a staircase, that was a really impressive day. So sometimes I'd be in one room for 3 weeks at a time. And I finally hit a point where somebody connected me with somebody who did brain retraining. And I'd done brain retraining before. I'd done it multiple times and it didn't help me. But I connected with somebody who did it a little bit different. Um, Sometimes you need somebody who's really truly been through it. And a lot of the brain retrainers I'd met before had been people who, you know, maybe they'd gotten somewhat sick or they'd had chronic fatigue for a while, but this woman had been through just like her story was similar to mine. It was crazy. She'd like died giving birth to her child and she had to be resuscitated and that kind of stuff. So finally, somebody who could look me in the eye and say, I hear you and you can do it. Um, so she taught me some things, put in some pieces for me, and I got really, really, really obsessively focused on retraining my brain. And it started a process of, it was well over 3 years before I took a day off. Like I'm talking when I started, if I was awake, I had to be retraining my brain. There wasn't a moment where I could let it up because my brain was so fucked. It was so utterly destroyed that I had to be on it 24/7. And it was years before I fixed it. And there was a lot that happened in between, but that was kind of the start of it. Eventually, I had to look in other directions. My path was not even after all that time, it wasn't simple. Even after I found that piece, I got partly well and then got very stuck again a year and a half in and went backwards again. Had to find more pieces, got stuck again and went backwards, had to find more pieces. And it took me maybe 3.5 years after I started putting the pieces into place finally to be like, you know what? I think I'm done with this. So
Wow, wow. So how long ago was that when you concluded that you were done with that, the retraining of your brain?
I feel like last summer, um, I went to the Black Hills in South Dakota with my girlfriend. It's something that I'd been dreaming of doing for years, and I finally was able to do it. We went camping and we climbed Black Elk Peak, which is the highest peak between the Rocky Mountains and Europe. And it's not like an insane Everest climb, but it's a pretty decent climb. You couldn't do it if you weren't in decent shape. And I did it with a cold. And I literally ran up the last, I don't know, maybe 10% of it. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, I did it.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, yeah, that's huge evidence that healing's been done, and
Yeah.
you're back to it all being a healthy human being. At least you seem like a healthy human being. Is that an accurate appraisal, or I'm just a
Yeah. I
guesser?
mean, I feel like with any of this stuff, it's always a journey. There's not like a stark line between well and sick. It's more of like a spectrum. And I think everybody's always working on that spectrum toward ideal health. But there's definitely a big, big difference between where a lot of people are, which is we do what we want to do. We're healthy, we're happy, you know, and we're just doing things for maintenance so that we continue to be healthy versus I have no life. My entire reality is consumed by, you know, this problem that's in front of me. And So in that sense, that's how I define healthy. Are you doing the things that you love without being limited? Are you happy? Are you thriving? You know?
Yeah, I think you summed it up very well in regards to, yeah, going from a point of where the problem is basically everything. You're
Mhm.
all, your words, all consumed with this situation, and for good reason. 'Cause I don't think it's an exaggeration. If you hadn't gone through all that, all the retraining of your brain,
Mhm.
you may not still be alive.
I don't think I would be.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a matter of life or death. And again, there was something within you where, again, I don't know. Again, I can't even really imagine what you went through. I think I would have given up. But again, you made progress through all this stuff, despite it being, again, so easy to say, why even try? That I've been through all this, and nothing works. I'm just going to give up. And to go for, again, it was all consuming. And to go from that point of existence to being to someone who is able to, yeah, to not just survive but thrive, that's a hell of a transformation. And all in all, in less than 5 years, kind of thing, 4 years,
Yeah.
that's pretty huge.
Yeah. When I think back on 5 years ago, or even, yeah, 5 years ago today was like one of those times where I was looking ahead to my birthday, like in like another month here, and just looking at like, um, I'm gonna be 30 in a few years, and I guess am I gonna be like this forever? My parents need to retire. They can't keep supporting me. What's gonna happen when they're old? Am I still gonna be needing help to walk to the bathroom and stuff like that? And part of what changed it for me was there's a switch inside of us that we can flip, but it's very difficult to find the switch. And it's this switch of I am absolutely 100% the captain of my life. And it's not this obsessive control thing, because I know from what I've heard of like addiction recovery and stuff through some of the people I've worked with, there is a certain amount that you do let go of control of certain things, and you trust God to take care of things. But there's another way that that can be a twist if you take that too far in the other direction. You need to trust God in some ways, and then you also need to show the hell up in ways that you can't imagine. And for me, it was especially when I got partway well and then got stuck. This was like 16, 17 years into illness. I'd gotten out of bed and I was functioning some, but I was still in living hell mentally and to some extent physically. The thing that I had to do at that point was like, okay, this isn't working. What happens if I'm stuck here? What happens if this is as good as it gets and I'm kind of in this liminal purgatory space? And that's where a lot of what I teach now came into play, because it's one thing to get some tools from somebody, like, to calm your nervous system, retrain your brain, get the right foods in your body, get the right supplements. But what about when that doesn't work? Or what about when you're stuck in a relationship pattern that is utterly breaking you and you just cannot get out of it? Or you're stuck in a trauma loop that you can't get out of? You've got two choices. One is to either accept the evidence in front of you, and I had really good evidence to say I'm never going to get well, because logically that was the conclusion I had to draw. And so my response to that was, I will do this or I will die trying. And I started talking to God very differently. Instead of please heal me, I'll do anything, what do I have to do to get well? It was, I'm going to get well, either you're going to help me or you're not, but get out of my way if you're not going to help me. And it just became this entire thing where if I had control of 1%, I grabbed a hold of that 1% and roared through it while the rest of the 99% was out of my control. And I clawed for every inch for a few years. And every single thought, every single moment that wasn't in alignment with what I wanted, I cut it off. I cut it off. I burned the old to the ground till there was nothing left of it. and people were genuinely worried about me. Like I was so intense with it. They were worried that I was losing my mind because I was actually cutting off certain human things as well. But at the end of it, I was able to come back and say, okay, I burned away all the shit. I burned away all the fear, all the victimhood, all the illness. And now I get to come back and be a human again. I can be sad and not have it consume me. I can be angry and not have it consume me, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, in my again, we're getting to know each other. I have 15 years of sobriety.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
amazing.
you, thank you. It's one of those things. Again, 15 years. It's enough of a lifestyle that it's kind of weird. Meaning the old stuff, it's just like a whole different life type of thing. But
Mhm.
reflecting back, that when I did what they refer to as a personal inventory fourth step, understanding, well, at least having more clarity and confirmation on the causes and conditions that had
Yeah.
brought me to that point in life, um, I realized that I had perpetually been blaming people, which is another way of saying I was perpetually in a victim mode. And again, once I saw this, which made me really uncomfortable. Don't think that all of a sudden this was hallelujah, kind of moment. There was a lot of discomfort when that became apparent. Basically, though, I concluded it's like no one else is responsible for the quality of my recovery, aka life, and therefore, okay, are you going to recommit? Are you going to be all in? Because all in all, I mean, this was 3 years into sobriety. I was more into staying sober in this point in my life than I ever had been. But it was kind of like, yeah, you're still cutting corners. You're still always seeking for the loophole and how to get through shit the easy way. And there's a saying in recovery: half measures availed us nothing. Well, again, if I'm trying harder than I ever have in my life, this didn't seem like half measures. And now all of a sudden I realize, it's like, dude, you've just been bullshitting yourself. You're rationalizing, you're justifying, you're denying, you're blaming. A lot of blame and stuff. None of this was my fault, kind of stuff. If you dealt with this stuff, you do the same thing as me. And I could have passed the lie detector and stuff. So yeah, again, that was a turning point for me, that yeah, no one else is responsible for the quality of my life but me. But frankly, again, I was in a whole different scenario. I had already clawed out of the hole enough to stay sober for 3 years. You though, you were still in the hole, in the wet mud with the vermin around you and stuff. Um, Again, so this is where I find what you offer as being so incredibly powerful, because again, of course, at my point in time, it was my own hell. I didn't know anything else, and such. But what you're describing is an overcoming that I've been around people getting sober for a long time, and I know some incredible success stories. I've been privileged to meet some incredible people
Yeah.
and such. But your story, you're overcoming your transformation, and also in a short period of time, comparatively. Again, everybody's got their own deal and stuff. But I guess with that being said, everybody's got their own deal and their own bottom and stuff. What I'm setting up here is, if somebody who's listening to this right now is in their point where they're precariously close to just saying, forget it, fuck it all. I can't try anymore. I've tried everything. Do you have a simple suggestion or two that could help somebody listening in?
Simple, yes. Easy, no. That's the distinction I always draw because easy is very, very different from simple. Um, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Um, it's this idea that we have to let go of this idea that there's some kind of fate, that we're stuck here because this is just our fate. We're stuck here because we did something or made some choice, or somebody else made some choice at one point that means we can never get sober, we can never get well, we can never have a healthy relationship, whatever it is. And I'm going to tell you that it is in your hands. That doesn't mean you have to do it alone, but nobody's coming to save you. You have to at least reach up and say, okay, whatever it takes, and then help can come. But until it comes from deep within you and you reach that point where you would rather die than continue the way you're going, and then you take that and you say, but I'm not going to die. I'm going to take this and I'm going to use this fuel to do whatever it takes to get well. Then you are truly not avoiding yourself anymore. You're not bullshitting yourself anymore. Because when you talk about bullshitting yourself, I totally get that. We can honestly give our all, and our whole conscious self thinks we're giving our all, and it's not enough because we're still fooling ourselves about something. And so I will just say that I do not believe that anybody is ever in a position that is truly impossible to come out of unless you are dead. I mean, I'm sure somebody can come up with some crazy exception, but if you're listening to this, it's not done for you. You're not supposed to be stuck here. You wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't have something inside of you that still wants to fight, even if a little bit. You'd be zoned out and not even paying attention to this. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. If anyone's listening to this right now, here's a simple truth. Okay. Yeah, you wouldn't seek out a podcast like this. You would, and nor would you've listened this far along if there wasn't still something inside of you. The flame may be a lot smaller. It's not shining as brightly as once. But you're someone who has gone through some gnarly shit. And again, we don't know who you are, but the fact that you're still, because one, life's hard for everyone. Here's a simple, easy enough assumption. It's harder for some people than others, but everybody has their own, how to say, I don't know, their own villains, their own dragon that they've got to fight,
yeah,
and such. And the fact that you've gone through some stuff and survived it just goes to show that you have the potentiality to get through what you're going through right now. In other
exactly.
words, you're probably a lot stronger than you think you are right now, and
That's
stuff. And the evidence of it is here that you're still listening. You haven't turned us off, and so. And I guess there has been probably some people that might have turned it off so far. But if you're listening right now,
that's the important.
you are stronger than you think you are. You are better than your past. Which is another thing, just for whatever reason I feel like bringing it up, is yeah, a lot of people come into these kind of situations and they have a degree of shame they're carrying with them because they think that they should have done otherwise. And again, to some degree, this, I guess, is the other side of the coin of taking full responsibility, that it's all my fault. All this has happened to me is entirely my fault. And that's just as much of a truth as well. No, I guess our fault is the fact that, gee, okay, we're alive. We've continued to, participate in life, and therefore relationships and such with people. And we've probably carried along some expectations, some unrealistic expectations, some wants and desires that didn't follow through. But there are a lot of things that occur in life way beyond our control that, yeah, I mean, come on. If you're physically ill, you may or may not have contributed to that physical illness. Okay. It may be just, I don't know, just your genetic makeup, the nature of you and stuff. Your family has a history of this disease. Again, whatever it is, you do have, frankly, all the responsibility in regarding the healing and correcting. No one else is again, it was just shared by Matthew. Nobody's going to come and save you. The doctors are not going to knock on your door. A therapist is not going to call you right now. And but on the other hand, there's a strong probability you never asked for this, wanted this, and did nothing deliberate to bring this about for yourself. And if you can look, and again, there's exceptions to every rule. If you're looking back and seeing, yeah, but if I hadn't done this and that, it wouldn't be this way. Well, please do not beat yourself up for knowing now what you didn't know then.
exactly. There's a really good story that illustrates this. So, and I got this from Phil Parker. He's a brain retraining guy, but this story is like, okay, you're on a bus, a city bus, and the bus driver is diabetic and he forgot to take his insulin. And he goes into a diabetic shock or something, and the bus is about to go off the road and kill some people. Now you've got about 5 seconds to react here. Is it useful to blame him or blame, like, to look for who to blame? No, it's really what's going to be useful now. Like, you may or may not have done things to get yourself into this position. Maybe it was your fault, maybe it wasn't. It's completely irrelevant at this point. And if you're going to sit there and blame yourself, it's just beside the point, because right now you're the one sitting right beside the bus driver saying, all right, I can save this bus. So it's more about what can you do than why did I get here? And like Randy's saying, you got to forgive yourself. You did what you knew how to do. You did the best you probably could. And if you didn't do the best you could, well, even then, you're deserving of forgiveness. You're deserving of love. And now you can make a different choice. Now you can redeem yourself.
Exactly. Okay. So I guess teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah. Between the twos, I hope this was enough for you to, I don't know, reconsider your situation. Again, and the reason why I felt it was important to mention that there's nothing to be ashamed about here in this situation is I know myself. There was a lot of self-hatred directed towards myself.
Same for me.
I projected upon the world as well. Again, the blaming as well. A lot of that, psychologists call it deflection. But really, oh gosh, what really impeded my progress was hanging on to this victimhood and this self-hatred and this. And again, it just once I could finally get to the point where I could see what I just shared with you. It's like, look, don't beat yourself up for knowing now what you didn't know then. Yeah, it wasn't overnight, but at least I didn't hate myself there. So like, again, when we talk about words like love and all that, especially if it's like self-love and all this kind of stuff, and if you're feeling the way like I did, it was about as logical or as probable as me being a millionaire. Okay. Yeah, it's nice that some people can do that, and it's nice that people are rich and stuff, but it ain't in the cards for me. So I was very fortunate. Somebody said, if you can't love yourself, Randy, just can you even consider that you could stop hating yourself?
It's a good point.
And that was something that was close enough to possible. It's like, yeah, you know what? I really don't think I don't think of any human was ever born to go through life with self-hatred. And again, I'll use the word shame as carrying as much shame, but of course, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people rationalize and justify and blame and stuff and deflect because it's so intense that if they let go of all that outward resentments and regrets and just hating the world and stuff instead of hating themselves, that they might take their life and stuff. At least that's when I was suicidal. When there was moments and stuff when I stopped blaming the world and just kind of said, yeah, you made your bed, lie in it, kind of thing. But fortunately, there was people around me who again pointed things out, like, again, don't hate yourself for knowing now what you didn't know that. And again, you are, but on the other hand, yeah, you are not a victim. Okay, you can still make a choice. The way it was said, because Randy, there are real victims in this world. Children that are in trafficking. Okay, they basically have no choice. It's either death or participate in these heinous acts and such. Those are true victims, Randy. But the fact is, you do have a choice. You are not in a impossible situation that, again, it's death or this kind of stuff, right? Ultimately, sure. Well, yeah, maybe if I went back to drinking and stuff, it'd be a long, slow, suffering death, or a fast one. Who knows? I could have wrapped the car around a pole and stuff. But anyway, my point was, it's like you do have choices, and it can just be something as simple as asking for help or accepting help. So I guess this does kind of segue into a good point right here. If what you've heard Matthew share is something that, well, I don't know, you think might be able to assist you, you've gone to other people and they weren't able to provide what you needed to turn things around. I got a feeling if Matthew can do it with his methodology, he can overcome something that intense. What you're going through, he can help with as well. So, Matthew, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
Um, well, I'm on Facebook. You can find me under my name. Also, forgingyourlegend.com. Forging Your Legend is the name of my business because I found that one of the biggest ways out of hell is not just to focus on ending the hell, but to find what your own legend is and focus on that almost to the exclusion of all else if you need to. That's how I rebuilt myself, finding what my mission and purpose were and making that the center of my work. And so forgingyourlegend.com. I've got a variety of people I work with. So if you read what's on there and you kind of see yourself in it, but you're not sure, just talk to me because chances are, yes, I can work with you. But reach out, say hi, and we can
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, yeah. And it does it cost anything to have that initial consultation with you?
Nope. I just have conversations with people for free because I want to know about you. I want you to know about me, and then if it makes sense for us both to do this, then we jump into it from there. But yeah, it's just free to talk to me because I want to get to know you. So
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like it's a no risk situation. You have everything to gain, nothing to lose.
yeah, I try to actually, even with people that I don't end up working with, try to give them something to walk away with that can help them. Sometimes I have people I'll talk to and I'll figure out pretty quick like I don't think this is right for you. I think you need to do some other work first, and then I'll point them in another direction, just try to help them out anyway because that's what we're here for. I think is to serve first and foremost. So
Yes, I agree completely. Maybe that's what Aaron meant by we're cut from the same cloth, because I do agree with that 100%.
yeah,
So thank you, Matthew. I appreciate so much. Those that are listening, thank you so much for taking the time, put your attention towards this. Um, I got a feeling there's going to be another interview in the future where we can dive a little bit deeper and stuff. I'm just fascinated by your story and how you've helped people. So
there's plenty more to dive into whenever you want to. I enjoy talking with you, so I'm sure we can do this again sometime.
great. Looking forward to it. And thanks for listening. Until we meet again, take care.